Welcome back to Hidden Power. This is a Pokemon podcast. Pokemon's 30th year anniversary is right around the corner, and during this birthday year, 2026, Pokemon is likely to also debut its 10th generation game. In today's episode, we will be analyzing and predicting what we can expect to see in the 10th generation of Pokemon. What region will this game be based on? We got our hands on the code names for the 10th generation game. We're talking everything today, from possible legendary Pokemon and their inspiration to new gameplay features and mechanics made possible by a new Nintendo Switch console. My name is DustyGogoat. Today I'm with the LumiosePost.
Hello.
And SoulSilverArt.
What's up?
Now that we have the information we have from the Terra leak, I want to take it back, okay? I think we've had time to digest, and now what we're going to do today is properly analyze the information that we have, that we've learned from the data breach, and kind of like sift through it to find what we need to know to learn more about what's going to be in Project Gaia in Pokemon, in the 10th generation of Pokemon. This will be the 30th year anniversary. I'm pretty excited. But Lumi, please, I implore you, start us off.
Yeah, okay, so, first off, can we just take a moment to appreciate that this is all we got about Gen 10, because it would have been so bad. The person who leaked this information has the source code of this game, so they can leak what
they
this
have the
game
source
looks
code
like
of Gen
right
10.
now. Yeah, like what's there. It's not like it's going to be a complete game.
Yeah.
Do you think do you think the leaker, the person who, do you think
we say leaker, hacker's technically more accurate.
Do you think the hacker literally knows like the Pokemon that are in this game?
Yes.
A few,
at
for
least
sure.
some.
Guys, get crazy in the comments. That's insane.
That
That blows my
and that's what I'm saying
brains.
is it's good that this is all we have, because he could have at any moment been like, oh, by the way, the starters are a fire this, a water that, and a grass this, And he didn't, and that's good, because that, if Game Freak starters leak out, 2 years before they're supposed to, I don't imagine Papa Game Freak would be too happy.
It's like worse than the Kaka stuff, because you would know everything before the game's even announced, man.
Right.
Oh, the pain. And it's their 30th.
I wonder if the closer that we get to the Gen 10 games releasing, then I wonder if they'll start revealing some Pokemon. That's kind of crazy to know, because usually during a leak season, it's exciting when something gets discovered and then shared. You're like, oh, it feels like any other Pokemon drop or announcement. But to think that all of these Pokemon, or a lot of the Pokemon, a lot of the build of the game and the features are already out there and could potentially just be revealed at any point is kind of insane.
Hopefully this isn't off topic, but it is on topic. It's just, I'm wondering if with the 30th anniversary, Pokemon will do, because we'll get into it, but the whole thing is that it's very similar to Gen 7.
Yeah.
So do you think that they'll do the whole promotional thing where they are just constantly being like, this is the year, and look, this Pokemon's coming in Gaia K,
I think
whatever. But
I think they're gonna
It was every other week. It felt like they were like, oh, boom, here's a Alolan Raichu. Oh, boom, here's Tapu Koko.
Because it was kind of the reason that they did it that way. They never really did it before like that, and I think it's because it was a celebration almost of
That's
look
true,
what you
man.
get.
But I also feel like they would. That's actually interesting, because I chalked that up. I chalked up the promotional cycle and style of the lead up to Gen 7 to Sun and Moon as really just a marketing choice, an experiment. They were like, what if we just stay in people's feeds every week? Is this game going to sell better? And then what they did with the Switch titles is they did kind of the opposite, where it's with Scarlet and Violet. With Legends EA, they're showing us nothing.
We are where we are.
They're waiting to actually
up here.
Yeah.
And now we're
they're waiting to market this game within a 4-month period. And I would say that the people at Game Freak and Nintendo are thinking, listen, Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield sold very well, and you did the opposite of the Sun and Moon release cycle. So whatever's going to sell more is what you should do again. But
could that have also been because of the console it was on?
Yeah.
No,
definitely.
Switch
Definitely
did better than the 3DS.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's definitely true. So yeah, let's get back on track. I do want to just frame this up for people. We are currently looking at a release schedule for Gen 10. We're from everything that we've seen, it makes the most sense for Legends EA to come out next year. Next year, we
know that that's coming out next year.
It is coming
we're
out.
also, I guess I'm thinking next year probably in the early half of the year, because when the Switch 2 comes out, again, allegedly, the Switch 2 is going to release next year. It would make the most sense for there to be a Pokemon. It makes the most sense for there to be a Nintendo game that's not Pokemon to come out during that first holiday cycle for the Nintendo Switch, which would then position the new Gen 10 30th year anniversary Pokemon game to come out in 2026. That is kind of the timeline that we're kind of working with at the moment, and that will help frame the rest of this discussion.
I will say one thing. It's not as related, but it is more context for it, and that is in the leaks they said that Legends EA was planned for 2024 originally. Wow. So like it was supposed to come out this year. So I don't know if they pushed everything back, like even Gen 10 back, but that makes it seem, as well as the leaker had the source code for Legends EA and played all of Legends EA that is finished up to this point. And they said things like it's basically finished except for some parts at the end and all this different things. But the point of saying
mainly side quests, bugs, and then they said at the end there were some like placeholders instead of the actual thing.
I say all that because it just further, I'm going to tweet about this eventually, but it further shows that it's ready to go like sooner rather than later. It's most likely not going to be like November 2025 for Legends EA. So like then you can see the progression of how the games will come out. Some people even think that like Gen 10 might be announced on Pokemon Day 2025.
That's what I was going to ask is, do y'all think we could see a Gen 10 announcement next year?
It's possible.
Like, I think everyone in this little room right now
I don't think
is in agreement it's coming out 2026.
I think
But do we think it could get announced 2025?
I think there's going to be too much stuff going on next year with the Switch 2 and whatever new games they want to push. And it's like, if Legends EA comes out, like we're going to get a trailer on Pokemon Day 2025 for Legends EA. They're going to push that game. It's going to release whenever it comes out. I don't think we learn about Gen 10 until Pokemon Day 2026. I
mean, it's just like with what I just said, we know it's going to come out earlier in 2025. So like what's for the fall? Like maybe nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe something.
DLC like Daybreak.
Sure.
Or maybe they announced Gen 10 and they still give us nothing at the end of 2025. And it's just like an announced generation. Like we just had.
Well, they did. Another thing too is when Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon came out, or was announced at least, they went ahead and said we are also developing the first Pokemon Switch game.
True.
They did not announce Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, but they like soft announced it, and so I could see something like that where like Nintendo reveals the Switch 2 and they kind of let everybody know, and we have a game coming out for that we're working on
in 2026. It's like and we're developing the next Pokemon game for 2026, and they just tell us then.
Right.
But they show us nothing.
Yeah, like I don't think they'll say it's Pokemon this and Pokemon that. They won't show us art, nothing. They'll just literally like say, "Oh yeah, we've got a game we're working on for the Switch 2 coming out next year."
Dude, this is exciting. This really is exciting.
It absolutely is.
So Gen 10, we learned about. We've got some core discoveries from the Terra League.
Indeed.
Pokemon Gaia is the project name. Lumi, give us a breakdown.
Yeah, so every Pokemon game has a project name. Scarlet and Violet was Titan. Sudachi was the name of the Scarlet and Violet DLC. This one, the project name is Gaia. If you wanted to read into that, because you can kind of go, okay, Sudachi was the name of the DLC for Scarlet and Violet, and that's kind of relevant because Ogerpon is based on a Sudachi. That's a type of fruit.
Lumi, do you have the whole list of them all on hand?
What do you mean? All the project names?
Yeah.
No, but I can pull it up real quick.
I'll keep talking while you're doing that. Basically, what you were going to say, I think, is just that it's hard to. A lot of times you're like, it's just a code name. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But then if you look at the list,
that's where I tend to lean.
Yeah, me too. And then I even tweeted about it and I was like, yeah, they mean nothing. And then I looked at the list and I was like, actually, these all kind of line up except for like one. Like all of them, you can't get
like
too
Titan
much out of
for
them.
Scarlet and Violet. Come on.
Yeah, Titan for Scarlet and Violet is the most obvious, and the DLC, like Sudachi. Being what an Ogerpon is literally what it is.
Yeah, I got him right here. I think it's just important to. It's like, yes, you can make some connections. I think there's definitely connections you can make in post. You can kind of think to yourself, oh, I get what the relation is now that I know about what actually is in the game. But I think it is a hard stretch to actually try to predict the content of the game or to derive any meaning from it.
You can't glean that much.
Yeah.
You know?
But in retrospect, it does. This does tend to the code name does tend to allude to something. One of the themes, right, within the game.
But the reason I bring it up is because of Gaia, because obviously it's the whole Greek thing, and I mean we'll get into it, but it's just like it doesn't reveal much. It reveals maybe the region, but it doesn't reveal much about the game, but it's still related, and that feels like a lot of these other ones, like Hayabusa for Pokemon Legends Arceus.
The
is like
scope, I think, means a lot too. Like, because Gaia is the name of a Titan that basically not the Titan, excuse me. But she's the mother of all the gods. So she's like the maternal figure of the Greek gods. She is, Gaia means earth. She's the goddess of the earth. So like that just kind of yells at you the scope, I guess.
Sure.
Likewise,
even
like Sword and Shield was, I forget the connection, but Sword and Shield's name being Orion, that Orion. Like somehow ties into it being like the scope of Sword and Shield. I can't remember. I think they've talked about it before.
Sure.
I wish I had the thing to cite, but somebody broke down every one of them, and I was like, "Whoa, it's crazy!"
Like,
they actually.
I don't know. My brain's doing like fancy connections right now. Like I look at Project Salmon is the code name for Poké Transporter, and what does salmon do? At least
swims upstream.
They swim upstream. They up to new technologies. They migrate, right?
I mean, I do think that's how
Project Turtle.
That's how they look at it, though, because they have to remember the project name and think of what the game or project
the
is doing.
Concept that they're trying to keep in mind, right? Yeah, absolutely.
But and then likewise, there's even like code names for areas in games, like Area 0. Its code name is Atlantis, and that definitely there's materials that are like references to Atlantis in Area 0. Koraidon and Miraidon's abilities are direct references to technology that was said to exist in Atlantis. So maybe it's nothing, but I think it is important to preface Gaia by saying sometimes these have very clearly, and then other times at least arguably, looked like, even like some side things. Project Gumshoe, a Gumshoe is a detective, and that was for Detective Pikachu 2.
Yeah.
That's a more obvious one. But, I just say that to say, like, it definitely...
These names are so funny. Project Tapioca.
I was thinking just the mainline games, but this is interesting, actually, to see. Yeah. Thing like Project Swan, I think of like a black swan and a white swan. It's interesting.
But anyway,
Rodeo,
so Generation 10.
Pokemon in that.
Yeah.
But Gen 10,
Generation 10.
We know that's Project Gaia, and we know that there is a version K and a version N. Now, the interesting thing about that is that, you could speculate that K and N mean something. It may not. Like you see for Titan, A and B. Well, Scarlet doesn't start with A, and Violet doesn't start with B. But I have seen there was a couple people who came to the conclusion that could stand for Pokemon Kaze and Pokemon Nami, which translates to Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves, which just keep that in your head, because as we go into the details that came out about Gen 10 from the Terra Leak, that makes a ton of sense. And those sound like Pokemon games, right? Like, I can totally see myself going, hey, Soul, are you picking Pokemon Winds or Pokemon Waves? That feels like it could be the name of a game, right?
Yeah.
Wind, by the way. That's
Wind? Oh, I'm going with Waves all day.
Yeah.
All day.
I got to see the legendaries.
I'm going Wind.
Waves. I'll be the only Waves guy. So you'll ask me for an Armarouche again.
Pure flying, pure water.
But
or flying dark type.
But another interesting thing before we get into like the details on the game itself, just some stuff about like the development of the game, is that there is a Switch 2 and a Switch 1 version. Now,
wow.
I think that this is just, we don't know, but I think that this is just they were developing it on the Switch 1 before they had the materials, the resources to develop it on Switch 2, and then they probably transferred it all over and started working on it on the Switch 2.
Yeah, that's the most likely, like 90%.
I do not think that there will be a Switch 1 version of this game. Maybe I'll be wrong, but
there's tons of reports right now on like the Switch 2 being announced like within a month. Like people,
we've been expecting it since September, since August.
I know, but everyone's
being announced next week since September.
They're cooking. Yeah. They're cooking.
Everyone's like, it has to be in a month or so. Like right now, like we are 30 days within. So like, if it is that soon, that's a big if. Like I don't see why there would be a Switch 1 version. If the Switch 2 doesn't come out until like late 2025, then I could see there being a Switch 1 version. Maybe even later than that. Even in like 2026, the Switch 2 doesn't come out till 2026 or something. Then it's like, okay, maybe there's a Switch 1 version for Gen 10.
I mean, we do know the Switch 2 has to be announced before, is it March or April of next year? Because they've said we will be announcing it before the end of the fiscal year, and the fiscal year ends either March or April.
Yeah, you're right. But I think it's April 1st. But the thing is, an announcement and when it actually comes out is different. So like if they like just like reveal it, I think this is off topic, but I think when they reveal it, it's going to come out like 2 or 3 months after they reveal it. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I would think if they announce it in the spring, they at least want to have it out for the holidays, because it kind of, I would think it would hurt your sales to announce a new console, but then be using your old console to market things in that holiday season, because it's like, no, thanks, I don't need that. I'm waiting on the other thing, the better thing you've announced.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm just talking about like a what if situation. If they like pushed it all the way until 2026, that's the only way I could see them being like a Switch 1 version of Gaia. Like I don't know why else they would want to.
But I don't think they'd announce it a year before release.
Yeah, me either.
I think that with the Switch 1, they announced it in October and it came out in like March or May.
It's usually a couple months after.
Yeah, it's like 6 to 8 months after.
So what I want to know is what kind of information about the game could we glean from the project named Gaia? What could Gen 10 actually look like in terms of like the game that we're playing, right? The Pokemon, the region that we're experimenting with or experiencing.
Well, obviously Gaia, because of her Greek origins, Greece is kind of the first thing that yells at you there.
There's a few ways you can go with it. I'm going to let you finish, Lumi. I'm just like, it's either you go, maybe it's all of them, but the one direction is like actually Gaia, the goddess, or actually Earth, like it's huge, like kind of thing.
Like the planet Earth.
Yeah, or it's like Greece specifically. You know, like there's different ways that you can go with it. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's all of them. I think it's probably one. And I think going so specific to actually being Gaia itself is too specific. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that that's what they were going for, but that's just my personal take. Anyway, Lumi, you can continue on with the different things.
To kind of tie it into the stuff that they get into, because it's relevant to what we can take from Gaia. It seems that they have implied that it is an island hopping adventure. Some people have taken that to even go, what if it's not? Because the reason we know it's island hopping is because they told Horizons, which is the anime, and don't worry, we're not going to get into any anime spoilers. This is all stuff we know up till now about the anime. But like officially released, you can go watch it. But Horizons has been hopping around different islands and also different regions. They've visited Kanto. At the time of this video, they visited Kanto, Paldea, Kitakami, Galar. So I say that to say that there is some speculation that, okay, well, what if it's not island hopping? What if it's region hopping? Like, what if we go to pieces of different region? And that's kind of where Gaia could also come into play, because Gaia is the Earth.
Yeah.
So it's like it's basically like Pokemon World. You know what I mean?
And I like that a lot. I think when we're talking about, how Pokemon and Game Freak want to position the franchise, right? At such a milestone, right? The 30th year anniversary. I think anything that has to do with sharing experiences between different cultures, between different regions, by reminiscing and celebrating what has come before it, right? Older generations, older Pokemon, older characters. I think that really feels right for the core of this type of game. And if we're talking about island hopping, region hopping, I think islands are a great way to do this. I think we saw them do this in Generation 7 during the 20th year anniversary, where we went to this Hawaii-based region, right, the Alolan region, and every island had a different feel, a different culture, right? And also, that was the introduction of the regional forms, right? How older Pokemon adapt, right, and can be changed over time. So I definitely think I'm all on board. If Gaia is pointing towards some sort of multi-region game, that doesn't mean every single region is available. I tend to, and I've said it on the podcast before, I really tend to like the idea of some sort of Mediterranean region where you travel, right? And I want to actually travel. I don't want to cutscene to a new region. Yeah, I want to play it like Wind Waker. I want to dude. I want there to be all these different areas to travel. And I think as a game, right, if we're getting another Gen 9, we had a first open world Pokemon game. If Gen 10 is also going to give us an open world game, I think a great way to differentiate it is to make the entire region covered in water, right?
Yeah.
Or not the region, but the game.
And give it a 7.8 out of 10.
I don't think it'll matter if it functions how it functioned, how like traveling and ride Pokemon function in Gen 9. I don't think people will care that much, because whether you're on land or you're like, no matter where you are, you're going to be on the back of Koraidon or Miraidon.
Well, right? there's ways to not make it feel so empty either. I mean, if you have like little islands that you can stop out in the middle of nowhere, that maybe they aren't even like civilized islands. They're like small, like island with a patch of grass that you can get this one Pokemon that you can't get on any of the other places. But either way, like, that's kind of the thing with Gaia's. There's so many ways to interpret that. You can interpret it just being like a reference to the scope. You can interpret it being Greece. Also, too, like, if it is like a Pokemon World type thing, they can just do that in the vibes of the islands, because, going to Greece is a, like, country that is just really a bunch of different islands. Like, it's got a ton of islands to it. Yeah. And, each of those islands have like their own cultures. Like, they're very different. I think when we think of a country, like, we're all American people, and the United States of America, it's across the different states, the cultures don't vary that much. Like, we're still all American.
Yeah, there's definitely
to
your point.
For sure, but
there's different cultures.
I'm saying that to say with Greece, it's like more different than that. Like, they say that visiting different islands is like visiting whole different countries.
Dude, and this is actually awesome. I've actually never seen this type of layout of a map. I don't know if this is actually geographically accurate, but to see them all scattered is so cool. Yeah. Because this is the type of thing. This is so different from like a Hawaii region where you're traveling a long distance to get to another island that's really just in one direction. In any direction you go, you're going to end up on a new island. Right?
You should see if this is accurate, because I don't know. It feels not accurate.
Pull up Google Earth and like just zoom in on Greece,
or just like a map one. I don't know.
Yeah,
Google Earth is fun though.
No, I think it's the same right here.
Yeah, it's pretty dang similar, if not. Yeah.
And what's cool about this?
Greece has all those other islands on the other side too. There's a lot.
Well, actually, no. This is actually pretty cool, because then you could have like, this is one mainland, this is one mainland, and then this could be scattered with little tiny islands in the middle.
I mean, Crete is one, and so is the big part that's like a claw-looking thing, where Sparta is. that's also an island. It's just bigger. What I was gonna say is like I don't know if we want to throw out the whole like it being all of Earth idea. This is a good map.
Yeah, I don't think it will be that. I just say that because it is something
I agree. The thing is, for me, I really think that it's going to be just islands and not the whole Earth kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be many regions.
For the record, too, I don't think anybody thinks it'll be the whole Earth, but I think people think it'll be like you'll get representation of Kanto by being able to visit the sub-islands. You'll get representation of Sinnoh by being able to visit the fight area.
And that's not impossible. I don't want to throw it out completely, but I do personally
especially
think
in DLC.
Yeah, I do personally think that it will be something like this, where it's like it's Greece and it's all these islands. That I think, because if we get really detailed and we compare what they were trying to do with Horizons and not do with Horizons compared to Gaia, they were like, don't do island hopping, and even if you watch Horizons, they don't like show them traveling from place to place. They just are like, we're here
at this new place now. They travel off screen.
It's like they really like tried to what's the word? Like not stress them doing the traveling or getting from place to place. I think that's because they didn't want that kind of vibe, but this is like actually going from island to island.
I really kind of love this, not gonna lie. I
love it too. I would imagine
this looks like a Pokemon region.
Yeah.
But that was the thing too, is that like because the reason we know this is because of interviews that Game Freak staff had with Horizon staff, because basically, Game Freak kind of gets like final say on everything. Like they get to look at the anime and they get to go, no, we do not like that you do this, because that makes sense, right? Like Pokemon is like supposed to be this happy, you're friends with your Pokemon, you like family. So like Game Freak is going to look at the anime and they're going to make sure, no, you cannot have that person get mauled by a nurseling and then it retaliate by his wife killing that Ursaring's husband or something.
Sure.
Like, they have to.
I don't think that's how the story went.
It's the direction that they want, right? That's the thing, is they say in these interviews, they like say there's no school setting, and this was early in Horizon, because Horizon actually has added the school setting now. But that was something that they gave them, was they were like, we're looking at your notes about the series, and there's no school setting, and we're wondering why the heck that is, because Gen 9 is all about schools.
Yeah, and what they were like, though, is because of the beginning of Horizons, when you watch it, Liko's at school, and then she leaves, and then that's it. And they're like, what's the point of, we're trying to have school stuff, and she just leaves, and that's the end of the school stuff. But then later on, they go back to the Scarlet Academy.
Right, but like the thing is, they may not have originally gone back to the Scarlet Violet thing. Like,
no, I don't think
because Game Freak was like, dude, you got to actually throw in some Scarlet and Violet stuff. Like, you can't just slap Sprigatito with the main character and say it's Scarlet and Violet.
Mm-hmm. The real question I want to know is this region actually going to look good? Like, is this region going to be ugly like Scarlet and Violet? Because these blue waters and these white houses and the mountains are gorgeous.
This is what convinces me that Greece is the best option, because
it's beautiful.
I was literally just thinking about, like, our Western mindset is always like, oh, we should think of a Western place.
Yeah,
but like,
absolutely.
There's so many other options. There's the Philippines, there's the Maldives, there's Indonesia. Indonesia is like actually crazy. If you want to look up on the map, like, that is, when I think of an island hopping game, I think of Indonesia. But the thing is, like, I don't know how beautiful those would be unless they really want them to be like rural and like, but it would be too much like a Lola. I'm like trying to think, like, how does a Lola how are they not going to redo a Lola? Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely. When I look at this, all I think about is Hoenn. Like, if you flip this, you've got this, like, this part which just looks like Hoenn, and then to the right is all of the little islands that you go to in the whole region.
Sutopolis City in Hoenn was based off Santorini, Greece.
Was it really?
Yeah, look up Santorini, Greece, and tell me that it's Sutopolis City.
No, that makes total sense.
For me, with the Greece map, I think they cut the whole mainland
right there,
part of it.
That picture that your mouse is on is Sutopolis.
No, absolutely. I can see it. I never
For me,
thought about that.
with Greece, if it was the region, I think they cut down the mainland part of it. Like half of that won't be there. Maybe like the whole part that's attached to Macedonia and Bulgaria and all that. I think it'll just be like the bottom of it and the islands.
I think what they would want to do is I do think they might be like a little bit cowardly and not want to commit to a full water region. Right.
I agree.
But it's been so long since we've actually had like a true, like I could say it's like Hoenn, but it's not really.
Well, even Hoenn, dude.
And Hoenn was so long ago.
Hoenn, you do 6 gyms without going to the water.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so Hoenn was still a large portion of it. Is the majority of the game is set in one land that is not broken up by water.
And you could say this is like the Kanto region as well, right? Where you traverse around Kanto and then you have access to the Sevi Islands, right? Maybe it's a setup like that. I like the idea of, I don't really know, man. Maybe there's something, I feel like there needs to be something else in the game that we don't know about, right? That is core, that is core to this experience. Like in Scarlet and Violet, you have to battle the Titans, or the Titans, and there's Team Star.
Oh, there'll be tons of stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be that.
And I think what's cool about this is rather than just having a flat land, the flat land of Paldea, instead we're going to have all these little islands, and in every island there's a different puzzle, like a Zelda game where there's a new Pokemon, or there's a new rare item, or maybe there's a new, whatever it might be, right? Every new island is a little, and could, maybe there's like 10 islands here that are like, this island was settled by the Kanto region. This island was settled by, whatever region, right? And it's a new area that still calls back to these older regions.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely could do that because, like, similarly, like Sun and Moon have Melee City.
They did, yeah.
Which has, like, they straight up say this is a city that was founded by Cantonians and Jotonians.
Oh, I love it.
The Melee Gardens is, like, a big, like, Johto vibes. They even have a gym in Melee City that is, like, directly modeled after the Vermilion City gym in Kanto.
Yep.
It was on, in case you are trying to pull it up, it was on Ula Ula Island.
Okay.
I am also thinking about like the quality, because that's what you were asking, Dusty. Like, I was looking at that map of Greece and I was like, there's so many islands though. I'm just like thinking Game Freak would just like take all those islands and make them less. Like there'd be like,
oh, for sure.
I don't even know how many, but not that many islands.
Yeah, there's like 30 islands right here.
I mean, I don't know. They did 30. Portugal really well in Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking. Listen, that's what I was thinking, and I was thinking about Paldea and what it looks like as well, because that's what Dusty has. But the thing is, there's 2 factors in that. It's going to be on the Switch 2, and the Switch 2's main thing, that is not just rumored.
Yes.
I've heard it personally, that it's supposed to be like really good looking stuff. Like,
I think it also communicates
graphically more advanced and can handle more things. The second thing, Dusty, before you go, the second thing, this generation is one of the few generations that's getting 4 years of development time.
Sure.
Where if it's going out in 2026, like we all assume,
they're like, we screwed up, the next one's got to be big.
Yeah, also there's that. There's also the backlash from Scarlet and Violet that it's like, oh, it needs to be better than that. So all of that put together makes me think maybe they could do a lot of islands and they actually look good because they had more time and they have a stronger system to work with.
I don't know, but maybe islands actually can help hide the weaknesses, the developmental weaknesses that Game Freak has, right? I feel like a lot of issues with Scarlet and Violet was that too many things would be there are just too many things to render all at once, right? There were just classic issues about open world games, and maybe
it's also the problem of the Switch too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's all. Yeah, I think it's also just like, There's a lot of issues. But what I'm thinking is like, basically, once you're on an island, that's the only thing that is there. That's the only thing that needs to be rendered, right? Other than like the water or whatever.
It is ideal,
So that maybe could help make an even prettier experience. And what were you just saying? Because I had an idea. I think again, a region like this, like all of these Greek islands, I think positions, and if it looks stunning, really does position these Pokemon games as, and kind of like emphasize the power of the Switch 2 or the successor to the Switch. If you have a game that looks like any other Switch game, any other Pokemon Switch game, it's not that impressive, and it's not going to drive my friends who casually play Pokemon out to buy the new Pokemon game. They're like, I already have 2 of these on my Switch. Why do I need another one? But if the game looks like this and it's bright and vivid, dude, if we get vivid Pokemon again,
I think we are. That's what I think. But
this looks
I'm
gorgeous.
also not trying to get my hopes too high because it is
me.
what it is. Also, Game Freak's like always 30 years behind. That's what we all say, but it's not. That's not exactly true. But it is like they're a little behind most of the time. So I don't know, but
yeah.
I will say I have some hope because sometimes Game Freak has crushed it. I mean, obviously, Generation 1 was like revolutionary for its look. I think Diamond and Pearl was pretty heavily praised for the way it looked.
It looks nice. It didn't play great, but yeah, it did look nice.
And then, I know that it's like not considered one of their best games, but I think if we're talking about looks and how it's played, I think X and Y are really good games. Thinking about the world here, I know that there's a lot of issues with like the 3D models.
No, I think it looks good.
I think, and even the 3D models, honestly, I think the 3D models were good. I think there were choices made with the 3D models that people disliked. And I agree with those, but it wasn't that the modeling was bad.
Also,
it was that you made the decision to not give Typhlosion flames. Why did you do that,
No, I agree with you. I think also, like, at the time, not to derail, but at the time, 3D models for every single Pokemon was a big deal. I think it only became an issue when they reused it for the next 10 years. That was
especially because you figured, dude, we all freaked out when in Black and White the little sprites were like just kind of doing this.
Yeah.
Like we were like, oh, and then now we have it where the Pokemon are like 3D and like you can see them breathing. When they use an attack, they go like, or whatever. Like that was huge.
Pretty crazy, but it is also, it's to be expected. That's the thing, is like all the other video games in the whole world are doing this. That's the problem. Like for a Pokemon fan, you're like, wow, this is crazy. And I'm thankful for it, obviously. But when people compare it to other games, you're like, this is the standard. Like, why are you excited about this?
So
it's like, I'm excited about it anyway.
Here's an idea. So if Sootopolis City is based or inspired by these Greek, Santorini. If we do have a Greek region, I wonder if there could be some. I could totally see them like kind of connecting some of the legendary lore, right? From the Hoenn region to this new region.
If nothing else, I think that they would kind of like do what they did with Melee City, and like they would probably still have a Santorini area in the Greece region because Santorini is a big part of Greece. I mean, you search Greece. 9 out of 10 of the pictures are of Santorini.
Yeah.
And like they might have someone say, did you know that in the Hoenn region there's a place called Sootopolis?
Yeah.
And that was actually founded by people from the Gaia
and that's
region,
why that's why the houses look the way they do inside of this crater.
No, I think they would I think they absolutely would reference Sootopolis. Now the thing that gets me excited when we're talking about a Greece region is I would hope that Pokemon would not just pull areas from Greece, but also areas from Greek lore or mythology. I think about the Labyrinth. I think about the areas that Odysseus visits in the Odyssey. There are like godly areas. Like, dude, we could go to freaking Mount Olympus. Who knows? We don't know. Like, it absolutely could happen. That's really cool to me.
Forever, Greek mythology in Greece has been like crying out to be a Pokemon region.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's just there's so much that they can do. There's so
the Pokemon
much.
Too. Like the creatures from mythology are always begging to be Pokemon. Anytime someone pitches a Tauros evolution, what is it? A Minotaur?
Yep.
That's crazy because like, what if they basically add on and create all of these other members that work underneath Arceus, right? Or maybe, like that old legend that like the Arceus we see is one hand of Arceus. What if we see the rest of the arms, the rest of the hand,
or some of them at least?
And it's like these creatures that are as powerful as Arceus, but they have different skills or like different powers, right? Or maybe they're under Arceus, but like you have Dialga and you have Palkia, but now we have Thalthea and Malthea and I don't know, all these other stuff, right? And
they all have these different powers. Dusty just actually leaked the legendaries
that would be really cool to just see like them expand and exist, because we've already seen the Game Freak do that by expanding trios into quartets and adding new Reggies, right, to that trio. So I think it'd be really cool to see them basically say, okay, the story of Sinnoh that we explained in Legends Arceus, right? And we're getting another Legends game, right? To really just be like, listen, that's a story, that's a myth, a legend of the Sinnoh, of the Hisui region, but the powers that these Pokemon, Dialga and Palkia, possess, Giratina, Arceus, that's just one story. There's actually Pokemon from outer space, from other dimensions, underneath Arceus, that are in all of these other regions, specifically this Gaia region, right? And there's new things happening, but the powers are related. They're sisters, they're brethren, right? Mm-hmm. I'm excited. That could be really cool.
That kind of ties into something that they said in these interviews talking about Horizons. I would not recommend pulling this one up because there might be some spoilers here.
Sure.
But basically, when talking about, it's no secret that in Horizons, this is confirmed, a big MacGuffin of it is they're searching for a place called Raqua. And they're talking about the original ideas for Raqua, and basically Game Freak is letting them know, hey, you should change this. That sounds too similar to something we're doing to Gen 10. And so Horizons is going to change these things because Game Freak told them to, and they have to listen. But they said, we'd prefer to avoid the ideas of stopping by other islands on the way to this island. So they were like, we just really want to avoid the Gen 10 thing. So again, kind of further hammering home island hopping. And then they said the idea of Pokemon living... So this is an idea that's going to be in Gen 10. The idea of Pokemon living on islands, adapting to their environments, and affecting the island's environment with their powers feels like it might be an overlap. And then they said they asked that they avoid Raqua being an island. They also specifically asked that they said, I understand the idea that there are various types of islands, but the idea of the island having value or being special because of a Pokemon's power seems to overlap at first glance. So that seems to be a theme that will be in Gen 10.
Wow.
So that's kind of, and I love that. We were talking about how these islands could feel like different cultures, and I think that's what's being kind of referenced here, because they're not only talking about Pokemon adapting to the island and its environment, but they're also talking about Pokemon's power affecting how that island is, how that environment is. So, I
honestly, it's crazy. I don't know what you're going to say, Lumi, but to me, now since we're talking about Greek gods, it's like, what if there was like a prominent god Pokemon on each one of the islands? Do you know what I mean? That affects the whole island, because that's what it's saying.
Yeah, but we do have that in Sun and Moon with the Tapus, right?
Right, but I'm talking about nobles almost.
Tapus are protectors. They don't shape the islands though. This would be different because this would be whereas Tapu Koko is a guard dog, this would be a god.
Sure.
So this would be
if let's say Reggie Ice is on an island, it's a frigid environment, right?
Yeah, it controls the whole island kind of thing. Which these would all be new Pokemon that are demigods.
And that's the thing. We get a new sub legendary, right? A new Paradox archetype. We get a new UB archetype.
That'd be cool.
That's sick.
That'd be cool. I'm thinking I'm thinking more UB, not sub legendary. I would be more just
the UBs are kind of like sub legendaries.
Yeah.
Or the archetypes is the better word to say.
Yeah. Exactly. That's a better way for me. I wouldn't consider them legendaries. I'd just be they're these Pokemon that are the lords over these islands, basically.
But what's fun is the idea of having a through line, an overarching theme that are specific to this group of Pokemon that are stronger than most, right? That are influencing the island.
Which would be the Greek pantheon of gods. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm just really cool.
So what is that called? Yeah.
No, Hercules isn't actually one of them. He's a demigod. But
maybe that's what it is, a demigod.
These guys right here. So Poseidon,
Zeus,
Athena.
Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Ares,
Hermes.
Yeah.
These are Aphrodite. These are ones that are popular. Ares is a big one. So like just like
and are they always associated with a specific thing?
Yeah.
Oh, right here. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, wisdom, marriage.
Okay, so Zeus, sky, thunder, lightning, kingship, bright or shining sky.
That would be the winds legendaries.
Yeah, and then Hera, woman, marriage, family, queenship, hero or mistress. No, it would be Zeus and Poseidon.
Typically the big
Poseidon
three are always
is
Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to read these off because people don't. I don't even know these, right? Poseidon is the domain of sea and earthquakes and horses.
This would be the waves.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Zeus is wind. Poseidon is waves. Maybe Hera is
They're brothers.
Maybe Hera is the third legendary that like basically says chill out.
I think Hades I would say Hades is probably best.
The big three are typically Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades because Hera is Zeus's wife.
But Hades would be.
They're all brothers too. Okay. The three of them are brothers.
Hera is usually not depicted as kind of calming the other two. She usually sides with Zeus unless she's mad because Zeus cheated on her.
Because I was thinking of it like a Rayquaza situation. But so Hades has to be the Giratina, right?
Hades has to be like, if they're doing it like this, because they're three brothers, and it's like it all kind of revolves around the three of them for at least in their timeline thing. Because there's other ones, but there's the Titans before them, which is actually crazy because Titans come before the Greek gods.
Sure.
Scarlet and Violet. Titans.
Well, and usually the other big gods that you're seeing, like Athena and Ares, they're the children of Zeus. So like. The big ones are the children of Gaia, in fact, are Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon.
Wow, dude. All right, let me just read these off just for listeners, for myself even. Let me just read these off just so we can at least be aware of these what are they called? Like the Greek gods. These are the Greek gods.
There
are
way more too. These are just like the big ones.
This is the pantheon, like the main.
Yeah,
the main.
And this is so cool to think that these Greek gods could potentially be turned into a new archetype of legendary Pokemon in Gen 10. Okay, so Zeus is sky, thunder, kingship. Hera is marriage, women, family, queenship. Poseidon's domain is sea, earthquakes, and horses. And then it's Demeter. Is that what it is? Demeter is agriculture, harvest, and fertility. Athena is wisdom, handicraft, and warfare. That's cool. Not the warfare, but the wisdom and the handicraft is interesting. Apollo is light, music, poetry, healing, prophecy. Okay, that's the artist. Artemis is hunt, a wilderness, childbirth, and the moon. Ares is war, violence, bloodshed. Aphrodite is love, beauty, pleasure. And then Hermes is trade, thieves, travelers, messages, and it's the domain of animals. And then who are these other two? Dionysus is viticulture and festivity, symbolizing wine's dual nature. And then we got Hephaestus is forging, sculpture, and technology. Those last two are bolded, and I'm wondering if that would make them
I think it just has to do with like where they fall in the family lines.
They're kind of more minor than the other ones.
Yeah. Okay.
It's weird how they all work in the family tree.
Okay.
They're not all equal in all these ways.
Well, and there's a lot of overlap with them. So the thing is, Hephaestus is married to Aphrodite.
Yeah.
But she constantly cheats on him with Ares, I believe.
Nice. Yeah. I'm an Ares.
And, while I don't think that they will, obviously, factor in infidelity into Pokemon games, I do think that it's interesting to maybe look at kind of the things there. Because the thing with Hephaestus is he's really good with his hands. He can, invent anything.
Sure.
So he's brains. Ares is war and fighting and bloodshed. He's bronze. So, basically their whole hate relationship, which is over the fact that Ares keeps cheating with Hephaestus' wife, but it's basically brains, bronze, and beauty is that trio.
Yeah.
And brains and bronze hate each other. That's kind of the interesting thing too. And they're always battling for beauty. So like a lot of archetypes that are like pretty Western, like we always say like brains versus bronze. That's
This
something
is where
that comes
like
out
half,
of Greek mythology.
half of like our Western stuff comes from
Hmm.
this. Maybe
Like
even more
to
than
the
half.
point you don't even realize, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Arcanized
okay.
little winged feet. Yeah,
uh,
that's Hermes.
Well, so right here, and I didn't know this. Every Greek god's sacred animal. So the Greek gods have sacred animals. That's a thing.
Yeah, like you saw, Athena is the owl.
Okay. This
I'm pretty
Poseidon's
sure Poseidon's
got
the horse.
a dolphin.
It's a hippocampus. Look that up.
Oh, I
This
see.
is
Oh,
what
yeah,
I'm
right here,
hoping
right here.
we're navigating on. Look up a hippocampus. It is the coolest looking thing ever in the history of the world.
This is the Waves legendary, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Hippocampus.
saying. I want to be riding on this as
Wow.
we're look at that.
That's
Look
cool.
at that.
This is a Waves box legendary.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
what
yeah.
else do you want?
Screw that. I actually want it to be like a Pokemon I catch in game and I ride on. Like it's my ride Pokemon. It's how
Sure.
I'm navigating.
I mean, we rode on the legendary box legendary.
I know, but
Scarlet and
well, that's
Violet.
what I'm saying is I hope they don't do that again. You know.
All right, so this is where my mind goes crazy because I'm like, okay, we have all these Greek gods, but are the Greek gods gonna be depicted as like a animal type Pokemon, or are they gonna be more humanoid? And I think it would be way more interesting if they were obviously animals, right?
No, yeah, it's like the idea of them usually. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
they're the concept behind the Pokemon.
Right, like how owls are kind of always associated with wisdom. That comes from them being Athena's animal, and Athena is the goddess of wisdom.
That's so cool. All right, I guess they all kind of have a lot of different animals that they kind of are represented by. Zeus is represented by the eagle and the bull.
You could go to a lot of Fakemon people that have done Greek regions,
Yeah.
and I feel like I've seen like an eagle and a hippocampus as the two, like, because that would make sense, like just Zeus and Poseidon as
Even a griffin, because that's like eagle-ish.
bro. We just need a
And
Griffin Pokemon.
Hippocampus.
So
I
bad.
know, dude. Ugh, I want a griffin so badly.
Well, I guess this has been done before.
As Fakemon for sure. That's one of the hardest things with this is just like how much do Game Freak want to be like? Oh yeah,
sure.
There's so many Fakemon that did this. Like we all know about the
But they can do something better
evolution.
because I do think most Fakemon end up just being animals with types. That like
Yeah, I agree.
that's and I'm not saying there's obviously amazing designs out there, but I do think a lot of that's just, sometimes people are like we just need to make designs for our Fakemon region.
Oh, shoot, y'all, this is so random, but it's actually snowing where I'm at, which I'm in North Carolina, so that's
Dude,
crazy.
you're probably going to lose power.
I'm gonna look
You're
real
just
quick.
like, I just want to see it.
Yeah, man,
He's so happy.
that's honestly really cool.
It's actually not here, only at my wife's work, so that's a shame.
Shoot.
Lame. Well, at least she loves it.
Would you like this, Saul?
Yeah, I like that.
This Minotaur Glalie?
I
That's
like
not
that
a minotaur, sir. That's a centaur.
Oh, okay.
And I like that Gardevoir way more.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
go.
like a harpy.
Is that like a harpy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't know who that was by, but good job.
Well, and like, man, like if it's island hopping, the story of the Odyssey is literally an island hopping adventure.
Yeah.
So the story could be like a parody of the Odyssey.
Which it probably
or an
would
allusion
be
to the
because
Odyssey.
the Odyssey is like the greatest thing to come out of Greece.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like it's insane.
so what
And
types?
the Pokemon, like a Trojan horse. We could get, the hippocampus, the harpies, of course. I mean, dude, there's so much. I want to go to the labyrinth. I want to go into the labyrinth and get lost in there. Make that my victory road.
This is also why earlier when we were talking about like what other island nations it could be, like we're geeking out because there's so much culture and potential with Greece. So it's like when you think of like other island nations, most of them are underdeveloped and not much going on, which is kind of what Alola did. Kind of like it's Hawaii, it's underdeveloped. It's been a nation for not so long, like officially, and obviously they've been around for a long time. It's just not the same as Greece, which is like one of the epicenters of culture, and there's just so much more potential with Greece.
Yeah.
If it's an island nation, you're like, it's got to be Greece because there's so much there.
Yeah.
So that's why it feels like that more so.
Well, another thing too, that I personally think, I said this before when we were covering it live with Jake. I think Soul, you weren't here for that because that was when you were gallivanting around
Sure,
Europe.
in
I was
Greece.
island
But he was island hopping. Yeah, he was playing Gen 10 in real life. But there is a project that they're doing in 2026, which would be the year of this Gen 10 game, called Project Mistral. And what's really interesting is Mistral, the definition of that is it is a wind, Pokemon winds, that blows from France into the Mediterranean. And you have to think this project will be coming out in between Legend ZA and Gaia. Legend ZA is France. Gaia, Greece, the Mediterranean, or somewhere in the Mediterranean. Wouldn't even have to be Greece, but again, islands, Greece.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I think, and I haven't seen a lot of people say that. I'm sure,
I think I shared it when you shared it.
I love that.
When you said you tweeted it, yeah, and I was like, yes, this.
Yeah. Did I tweet it? Okay, cool.
I think you did. That's where I heard it originally. The same kind of thing, like that revelation just hit me about the whole Titans thing. I don't know if you know about it, but basically, I mean, you probably do, Lumi, but the Titans were the Greek gods before the Greek gods, like their parents or whatever. And so that's like Scarlet and Violet coming before Gaia, like Titan, Gaia. In the same way, it was very similar with Sword and Shield and Alola, because they had the two wolves that chase the sun and the moon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very similar kind of idea where it goes around, like maybe this inspired this, or they connected it this way.
You could go deeper with that and say that the Titans are honestly largely kind of unexplained because we know they come from Herba Mystica, but they come from eating Herba Mystica rather. And you have this tree in Area Zero, and y'all remember they hyped up this tree in the DLC trailers, and it ended up being nothing. Like I
think that was just poor oversight of
maybe, but let me dream a minute and say that maybe like the Herba Mystica stuff is going to continue into Gen 10 and kind of get more explained. I also, a big theory I have, because we have to think that this is going to be like Sun and Moon, very celebratory of what came before. We're all in agreement on that in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yes, for sure.
Well,
for sure.
What's interesting is that one big, I guess you could say, a complaint, a critique of the Pokemon franchise is that they'll introduce these new gimmicks and then just completely abandon them.
Yeah.
But if these are different islands, you could say that maybe different gimmicks exist on different islands.
Whoa!
And where this is coming from?
Crazy.
Wow, dude, that's fun.
Obviously they're going to want to do a new gimmick for Gen 10, I think. But if we're getting new Megas in ZA, and, I very, very much believe we are, then if we're getting new Megas there, they're going to want competitive players to still play around with those. So I would think that Megas will still be a thing in Gen 10, so we can use our new Mega evolutions.
We can go to the Mega Island.
Yeah.
Right, there's going to be a Mega Island.
Yeah.
Well,
and we've seen something similar in past games. What they've done is like you only have access to some of those like niche battle formats somewhere in the world. I'm thinking about the flying battles, right?
Sky battles,
the sky battles in Gen 6. There's in Gen 5
inverse battles.
Yep, inverse. You have the rotation. You have the triple. Even double battles are kind of select in the mainline games, right? So why not have like a Mega battle or a G-Max battle or something?
Well, you can also do it with the regulations. Like they have regulations, so like the rule set for VGC changes each season. And this would allow it to stay fresh for 3-4 years because they can go, okay, well, for this 6 months, only Z moves.
Yeah. Or
next
even
6 months, only Megas. The next 6 months, Megas and Z moves.
Another thing that's
extreme.
No, it's so extreme, dude. Another thing that's kind of looming over our head that I don't think we've considered is that like this is theoretically would be a big game, and now that we're seeing that we're not getting a new Pokemon game this is the first time that we're not getting a new Pokemon game every 3 years, but rather every 4 years. Think about how Pokemon might want to extend the lifespan of the game, and what that might be is introducing a new island as DLC, right? And maybe that DLC has the power of Dynamax. Okay, now there's another DLC. Guess what is available there? Z moves, right? And then here's another one.
Yeah.
What's available? And whatever else, right?
Terrestrial.
Well, yeah, exactly. Maybe Mega is in base game. That'd be cool. I really hope Mega is just in base game, straight up.
Well, I think it will be because
the gimmick.
We think it will be.
I think it will because with Legends Arceus, they wanted us to be able to play with those new Pokemon. So those Pokemon were available once Home released. Like they were in the coding of base game Scarlet and Violet, so you can use Ursaluna when Home comes out. So I would think that they would do that, make it available so you can use your new Mega Dragonite, please. All that. But another thing that this always has me thinking of is that you have the Pokemon Meltan and Melmetal, and what's interesting is that Gigantamax Melmetal's Dex entry in Sword and Shield talks about how, like, a Cyclopean giant was described in another region. Wow. So they confirm Gigantamax's existence somewhere outside of Galar. And Melmetal is, for one, a Cyclops, which is something that originated
all of this makes
in
sense.
mythology. And then also on top of that, Melmetal has a very inventive design. Like if you told me that was a man-made Pokemon, I would not be floored.
Yeah.
Well, it's mythical. What if it's a god-made Pokemon? Because again, Hephaestus is the inventor. You know what I mean? So I say that to say, like, it just, like, that feels like they were referencing Greece. They also have made a point to never tell us what region Meltan's from. Like, it is literally, like, classified as an unknown region.
Yeah. Which is cool. That's a fun little...
Oh, I love that.
I like that.
I absolutely adore that.
Give us more of those.
But I say that to say, like, they very well could go, here's that unknown region.
Let's do a video all about the unknown Pokemon regions.
There's so many at this point, too, which is really cool.
That's fun, man. I think all of that makes sense. I think, I think there's room. I hope we don't get a new gimmick. Not that I think new gimmicks are bad, but I'm like, we have
I was gonna bring that up.
We have existing gimmicks that could just like be reintroduced and just marinated on.
The only problem I have with that is that since it's gonna be a 4-year gap, and we've just been using, this is competitive mindset, but we've just been using Terrastal for so long, and just we're gonna be having this Scarlet and Violet meta for all the way up until the end of 2026. Basically, it's just like so much to be like, okay, there's nothing new. You know what I mean? Like,
I totally feel
there isn't, but if you bring back, like, if you say, okay, well now it's Megas. Well, if you're a person who's been playing competitive forever, like Wolfglake, it has been almost 10 years since you've used Megas.
Right.
Likewise, too, competitive has blown up this specific generation, so they're pretty big VGC players. The first one that always comes to my head is Justin Tang, who actually did not play competitive Pokemon, at least not like in tournaments. So it is new to him, you know, and it is new to this kid who's going to pick
introducing
up the game
new Megas.
I'm not just talking competitive though either, like also in the game, also like what you experience in the game. Just it could be two ways. It could be more than two ways, but the main two ways I'm thinking about is it can be Megas and the new gimmick, or it can be Megas, Gigantamax, Z moves. Like, just let's put them all in there on each one individual island, and then they can, like, it's the game where all the gimmicks are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Or maybe not all Pokemon, but all gimmicks, you know. Yeah. Most Pokemon.
That's something we should talk about too. Is
I don't think they'll be all Pokemon.
I'm over it, dude. I'm honestly kind of over it. You know why? Because you can get access. You can get all the Pokemon in certain games, and they've made it really clear that, like, you can, while you can bring things into home, now you can bring them back into your older games where you can access those Pokemon. I think they've done too many things with Pokemon Home to future-proof the lack of a national dex. So I don't know.
I think until it's easy enough for them to bring all the Pokemon back, like 3D modeling just becomes this easy somehow with AI or something, you know. Until that happens, I don't think we get national decks back.
Which I guess that's something else too, is that Pokemon has traditionally made their own engine, and so the thing about making your own engine is that makes it hard for other people, for you to outsource, because the issue is, like, you made this, I made this, you don't know how to use it because it's not a universal thing. I just made this. But there was, I don't think this was confirmed from the Terra League, but so please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it is at least heavily rumored that they are using Unreal Engine for Gen 10.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I know there's been some speculation or
remember that.
rumors. I feel like someone
If
said
anything, it was for the
maybe.
rodeo or something.
Maybe. But if they are using a popular engine, it becomes easier to outsource. It's no longer a thing of, can you outsource this to me? No, you can't because I made this. It's a thing of, hey, here's this universal thing that everyone uses. So you're a company that does tech. So Soul, I'm outsourcing this to you. Make me some models. And you can do that because you're familiar with that engine.
Yeah. They do seem, I was going to say this earlier even, they seem to want to be becoming more modern, Game Freak.
Yeah.
I think that, like, with the whole Pokemon Works thing, I think that they're trying, because a lot of the old heads, they're still there, but they're on their way out, you know? And so, like, the newer generation is
we're on our way out, so.
Yeah. They're older than us.
I'm taking over this pod.
But yeah, it's, and on their way out in a good way, obviously. I mean,
yeah,
they've had some glorious years, but I just mean like the more modern ideas are coming into play.
Yeah,
more so than in
which is how you want it to be. I mean, I think it's good
Yeah.
to bring in new ideas. You know,
Is it wrong for me to say I want Omori to leave?
No,
Okay.
I don't want him to leave. I just don't want him to direct.
I don't want him to work on new games.
Don't
want
direct
him to
my
work
games.
on remakes or something. Shoot, he can have DLC if he wants it. Please don't touch.
He should only have remakes. Yeah.
Yeah, because fire remakes.
Yeah.
Fire remakes. Oris so good, but not that you can comment on that, Soul. Because you have played neither the remake nor the original.
I really
so,
can't.
I
don't know what.
I don't get it.
But you know, I think I don't know. I think that it would be a celebratory gen. Another thing too is literally behind every single gimmick there is at least one form that is locked. Obviously, Mega Evolutions, there's tons of forms that are locked. Gigantamax, there's tons of Gigantamax forms that are locked. Z moves, you have Ultra Necrozma locked. Terrastol, you do have now the Stellar Terapagos and the Ogerpon Mask forms are going to be locked behind that. So by
Why
doing
did you bring
that,
this up just to hurt me?
Yes. No, but by bringing these back in, you allow people to play with their favorite Pokemon. Dusty, you had mentioned you have a 5-year-old nephew, who one of his favorite Pokemon he listed was Gigantamax Dreadnought.
Dude, he's
guess
so
what,
real.
little
for
buddy?
that.
I know you're
You
He's
can't
so
play with
real
that.
for that.
I know your
So
pain.
real. But see, he won't be able to play with that unless they have a game with Gigantamax. And I say that to say there are people
they have
their
that.
favorite Pokemon is not Dreadnought. It's Gigantamax Dreadnought.
Yeah.
So by having Gigantamax return, I can play with my favorite Pokemon again.
But I think the missing thing here is that those Pokemon still exist. They're accessible on the Switch.
But it's more than that, because if you're a competitive player, you want to play with your by that logic.
No, they're gonna Switch will play on Switch too. It's not an issue.
Sure, but by that logic, like, okay, well, they don't have to bring in Swellow into another Pokemon game anytime now because it's on Braid Out Chaparral. I don't think they're thinking about that. I think they're thinking about brand new games. I want to be able to use my favorite Pokemon in my playthrough of this game, so I want to use Gigantamax Dreadnought here. I want to be able to play with my favorite Pokemon in competitive. I know your 5-year-old isn't going to tournaments, but, you know, hypothetically, like, if my favorite Pokemon is Mega Lucario, well, I want to be able to play with that in tournaments, you know?
Yeah. No, but all the freaking Megas that are going to be in Legends ZA, you're like, they got to be playable at some point.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Megas
you cannot add a Mega Dragonite and then just kind of be like, I guess you'll see it in XY remakes in 2037. Like,
but again though, I think Game Freak still kind of operates under this, like, it's not false scarcity. It is artificial. It's created, but it's also not, because it's like they can't keep up with, you know, if eventually there's going to be 2,000 Pokemon, that's so difficult to recreate every 3 years.
That's why there's,
you know, like, it doesn't make sense. And I
do.
There is a little bit of magic to be like, shoot, like the Pokemon I love is not available, but when it becomes available, it's so much more joyous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know? I think the real issue is we were spoiled growing up, being able to transfer old Pokemon into newer games. You know, like, I remember the first time I brought up, like, my Coliseum team to Emerald version, and it's like, whoa,
They
This is
just
so
need to
cool.
not. They just need to not forget about Pokemon like Swellow. Like, how sad is it? When's the last time you used a Swellow? Like, my boy.
Or as I had
I miss him.
Boomburst Swellow.
It's a long time ago now. Or
I will say this. According to this, I have not fact checked this, but apparently there are only 292. One person is saying 185, but another person saying 292 Pokemon missing from Scarlet and Violet. Man,
that sounds right.
Well, and the thing is, like, that's not a lot in the grand scheme. Like, DLC added like about 250 almost.
That's the weirdest thing about it.
Violet had like 450, something like that. So
even Sword and Shield, the weird thing is when they added the DLC Pokemon, you're like, we're almost there. Why don't you just do the last 100? You know?
Yeah, with Sword and Shield, there was 664 Pokemon, and it was in the game, and the number was like at like 800 something, maybe 900 something. So like it was like, oh come on, we're so close. But I say that to say, one thing they might experiment on, like Dusty, I love the idea that you had about like adding these other gimmicks through DLC. Like start us with Megas and whatever's new, but then DLC 1 gives us Z-moves, DLC 2
that's so
gives
much
us
fun.
Terrasol. Well, then like why
Every
not?
year is going to be an excitement, and you still get access to a new region that would unlock that or whatever, or playable area.
Right.
Anyways,
But and give us another DLC after. Like, give us more DLC. I don't think anybody would say they don't want more DLC.
I spend most of my time in Scarlet and Violet in the Blueberry Academy or Kitakami.
Yeah. And honestly, it doesn't even. You don't even have to give us a new area. But like on a gap year.
No, I like this, a new area feels substantial.
Absolutely. But I'm saying like honestly, on a gap year like this, if they just said, "Hey, here's 50 Pokemon that were not in Scarlet and Violet, and we're putting them in the game." I'd be pretty dang happy.
I still think a region still makes it feel a little bit more real,
Oh, for sure.
Because now you have a new place to It's like, I don't know.
100%. But I'm trying to be understanding of the fact that they'll be working on Legends Indigo and Gen 11 and whatever else, so they can't devote
Legends Indigo. Can we? That's
it also
be real.
really depends how big this is going to be, because that's always the question, like how big is the region,
I think it's going to be as big as Paldea.
Do you think they want to go even bigger? Because like that's the thing is every time they're like, let's go bigger. But
why would they just make a bigger region? I don't think anyone's like it's difficult.
I don't think they need to.
I think it's difficult to convey that on a box cover, Oh
yeah.
Like a new gimmick, that's new. New Pokemon, that's new. New starters, that's new. New region, okay, that's new. Whatever else. But I'm like,
the reason I brought it up is because I was thinking about, we were talking on our Secret Power before this. You guys should subscribe or whatever to get access to that.
Become a member.
That's up right now. Become a Patreon or YouTube channel member. $5
there you go.
Or higher.
So you can hear our conversation about Skyrim. But basically, Skyrim, the map of Skyrim was big, and it's like I don't remember all the places.
Yeah.
And if there's a map of Pokemon that's really big, bigger than Paldea, then you're like,
I just want to
if I get DLC, and it's still in the same map, but there's new stuff happening.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the fun, I think, of Legends Arceus, and that's the fun of Scarlet and Violet. You can just go wherever you want, and you can get lost and make your own little memories.
And I think too, like even just you can expand on the little world that you have, right? Like maybe you don't have to add a whole new area, but why don't you add there's a Mirage Island that now appears on this route that you've always had. You played it in the base game, but now suddenly this thing's appearing. Or maybe this city has added a battle facility now, and it's a new building. So you can expand, because I think that would be cool too, is watching your region grow.
Yeah.
Because we don't get to see that. We just go to parts that we haven't seen before. But I like one thing Sword and Shield did do is, and they didn't even have to add a new building to do this, but they added the Galarian Star Tournament.
Yeah.
And honestly, truthfully, I didn't even play that, but I will say I do like this idea of you're watching, because time is still going on, so you're watching this region grow. Not just visiting a new area and abandoning that region forever, but you have reasons to turn back to it. Even smaller things like
I so agree.
The glitterati or whatever appearing in Paldea, and you have to like hunt them down. Galarian Zapdos appearing in the wild area. Like even small things like that, I think they should expand the scope.
Those are like moments where you're like, oh, I get to go back to Paldea and do this.
Yeah, exactly.
You like actually feel it. You're like, this is cool. This is something different happening in where I just spent most of the time. I think it's genius, actually, to do
I just saw the Area Zero Underdepths. That's a perfect thing of what I'm talking about. It's not even, like, it is a new area, but it's really just an expansion of an existing area. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'm looking at this map right now from Bulbapedia. It's kind of placing where the European Pokemon regions are. You got Paldea, Kalos, Galar, Isle of Armor, Crown Tundra.
I want to cry.
Yep, and it's really cool to be like, this is Southern Kalos, and this is where the Greek region would be. And it's kind of cool to be like, oh, we're going to be over here, which is so far removed from all of these shenanigans that we've endured over the last 10 years. We're just kind of in a new area right here.
At the same time, talking about DLC for Gen 10, which is crazy that's what we're talking about. But another one of these leaks from the Terra leak was that Southern Kalos was cut, and it was a whole like part of the region that was supposed to be added later, kind of like in a like third version.
Yeah,
I could see like we get the Greece region for Gen 10, and then the DLC is go to Southern Kalos, like because it's still right there, kind of thing.
Even
we could go anywhere. Paldea
have Southern Kalos in the base game, and that's where we get the megas.
Yeah. Just like an area. I mean, that's pretty far away.
It is. You'd have to kind of change up the geography.
Scarlet and Violet, that DLC showed us that we could go anywhere. We fly to an undisclosed Japanese region, and then we fly to an undisclosed Unova region or location.
Like part of Unova.
Yeah, we could do the same thing. In literally any game going forward, the DLC could be like, guess what? You're right. Guess what? Go to Southern Kalos, you get access to the megas. And then it could be like, guess what? Go to this little area right here, whatever Ireland. This is. Yeah, go to basically the Ireland area, and you get access to Dynamax.
Sorry, my Irish people out there.
Yeah. And then
whatever this area is.
No, I wasn't sure. This is Scotland, right?
That's Scotland.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Give us Wales. Poor Wales, like literally just missed the cut.
Yeah. Like they could do it. They could do whatever the heck they want.
The Canary Islands for Paldea.
I mean, that is also another option for Gaia, by the way, is like all of those islands off of Africa over there.
Yeah.
The Caribbean. I mean, there's all kinds of options.
Oh, I forgot about the Caribbean too. Yeah, the Caribbean.
Yeah, I do think with all the like stuff though put together, I feel like Greece feels the most right.
It's really, it's like I said, it's the lore part about it because it's just like, are they going to do another Alola? Are they going to do another Hawaii? I mean, even with, I feel like the Caribbean is the next best thing because there's enough like pirate lore there because that's where just pirates basically come from in a way. But at the same time, it's still pretty underdeveloped to the point where you're like, there's just beaches there. There's, resorts, and that's about it. Like,
And I do like the idea of a new. What's standing out to me is like I don't know. This has become like a thing I love. It's these like archetype legendaries, right? It's this new group of legendaries that kind of have like a shared origin, and they're not really legendaries, but they're legendary in feel. And when I was reading with the demigods, there are these fusions between God and man, right? So I do like this. It feels like it would fulfill that Pokemon styled archetype where we have these maybe there's 9 new legendary Pokemon that are maybe a little humanoid but mostly animal, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a great way to make them just kind of feel like a unique creature. And each one would have like a really special type combination and stat
That
distribution.
kind of factors into what we've heard about it, like these Pokemon affecting their environment.
Yeah.
So think about, like, to use your example from earlier, if Regice is ruling this island, he's created this snowy environment. Like, you have like this half fire, half ice,
Dude.
like, and like it's in the design, it looks like a hybrid. Like
Yeah.
it looks like it is a mix of two things.
We've been, since the start of this
and also
podcast,
it's
we've
how
been talking
they
about
can do.
we've been talking about fusion
ahead.
Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
And this is a way to do
Absolutely.
fusion
What do you mean
without
since the start of this podcast,
Right.
And
not this episode, the whole podcast.
yeah,
no, like,
the
literally, that's what I meant,
existence of the show. But that's a really cool way to showcase like two different things kind of being melded together.
I also think it's a good way to kind of do regional variants too. If you make these islands feel so different from each other, then I won't be too surprised to see Alolan Vulpix in the snowy area or whatever.
Dude, yeah.
Because they do want to give us access to those. The Blueberry Academy was a good way to explain it. But, like, you know, not to spoil you, Dusty, because you've started the playthrough, but, like, you'll see in Snap, Cantonian Ninetales and Alolan Ninetales both are in that region. So,
Whoa.
you know, I say that to say, like, you can... it's a spin-off game, but I don't mind them doing that and going, oh, yeah, this place is so snowy. That Vulpix from Alola also thrives here, you know?
Wow.
Also, I don't know if you had Pokéos up earlier. There was one other thing that they were mentioning in the interviews about like not wanting like an Atlantis thing to happen, like not wanting something to fall into the water.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Would it be okay? So one of the people says, would it be okay if it was an underwater temple from the beginning rather than an island? And Omori says underwater would be fine if it's like Atlantis, or what is this, Ryugu Castle?
That's Dragon Palace.
Okay, it probably won't overlap. If there's a special ecosystem underwater, that should be okay, which is cool.
It's just the idea of it. I don't know. I'm trying to still figure out like where's the overlap in all of this, because if you really dig into this stuff, we could go much further. Because it's like, so the combination of shield and sinking seems redundant. So like, I don't know, things sinking into water they've been playing around with this idea of Atlantis for a while, I guess. And that is very grease coated as well.
Yeah. And I like how they give an example of something and then they go, but what if we just did this? That might feel more Pokemon like. Like I love that they are thinking about interpreting things. Yeah, they talk like us. Yeah.
They talk like us.
Yeah.
I mean, this is translated too, so who knows? But it says it would be better if you could make it difficult to find and isolated from the outside world using ideas other than being an island and sinking into the sea. You know? Yeah. So like, does that mean that there's going to be an island that sinks into the sea in Gaia? Because that's what they're saying. Like, don't do that.
So probably
but
not.
That's
if they're suggesting. Oh no, don't do it.
No, because they're saying the anime needs to not do it, so it looks like Gen 10.
Yeah. Which is kind of crazy because it is overlapping with Scarlet and Violet actually, because they were like Area Zero is kind of Atlantis, but they never outright said anything like that. So like maybe there's an island in Gaia that's underwater, like fully underwater.
Dude, we didn't even talk about this, and we have mentioned it before, but the really cool concept that they could play around with in a Greek region that's mostly like if there's an abundance of water, that's boring unless you can dive and you can go underneath the water and explore the Pokemon.
This is kind of saying though. Like this is saying like there shouldn't be an island that sinks into the sea because that's too close to Gaia. And it's like, okay, but what do you mean? Like, so does that mean that there's a Gen 10 region that's sunk into the sea underwater that is Atlantis, which is a Greek story? Like it was made from a Greek man.
Yeah.
So it's like there's so much grease going on. Ideas.
What if the underwater island what if it's Atlantis, but like they kind of already did Atlantis with Area Zero? What if it's the underworld? Especially if they're going to tie Hades into the plot of this. Like,
that's cool, but
Hades, Zeus, and Poseidon will.
But the Pokemon version of that is just underwater.
Yeah.
It's not...
Well, and I imagine it would be dark, like like.
I mean,
the
realistically,
world
man,
is Pokemon hell. You know what I mean? But it's not really hell.
But it's the distortion world,
right? But like it's a Pokemon take, a child-friendly take on hell.
No, but I think that adds up. That works perfectly because like. I don't know what I've seen from images. Like, okay, this is just a random picture of the ocean depths. Is
like an abyss.
Looked it up. Yeah, it looks like another reality. It looks it looks horrifying, right?
Yeah, well, and like, dude, and the creatures that live down there. I mean, just look up deep sea fish.
Yeah, bro.
They truly, some of God's worst creations live in the deep sea.
And honestly, bro, I love that.
Horrifying.
I think we solved it. That's really crazy. Yeah, because
the anglerfish looks like just like
the devil.
like it's horrifying. I mean, look at that thing.
That's not nice.
Hideous.
You guys, I like them.
Oh, they're so.
It's not cute though. It's like the opposite of humans.
If you saw that in the water and you kept swimming, you're criminally insane.
Yeah, dude.
I'd be like, get me out now.
Yeah.
Holy, and this is what it looks like on land.
They're all like this. Look at this. This is horrifying. This is nightmare fuel.
No, dude, you're absolutely right.
That's kind of what the underworld is, right? It's supposed to be like the Greek hell. So,
dude,
we're going to have these demonic, dark type Pokemon.
I really like that as a theme. That's cool.
Yeah, it's just does
like
this mean we're gonna get a Cerebus? How do you say it out loud?
Cerebus?
Cerebus Pokemon. I want that 3-headed dog.
Oh,
3-headed dogfish.
Dogfish.
Cerebus. Yeah, how do you say that?
Cerebi.
Saying it out loud is like
Cerberus.
Cerberus.
You're right.
You're right. It is.
You're
it's
right.
Cerberus. Good job. It is Cerberus. It took me a minute because I was
good.
in my mind. I was putting
that doesn't sound right.
I was putting an extra E, like so where it says CERE.
So what? So what is this with?
Yeah,
is this tied with Hades?
Yeah, this is like
it's the guard dog of the underworld.
A fire, water type Pokemon that's like a volcano dog or something, or like just. I mean. It like right. What are they called? There's underwater volcanoes, right? Isn't that what makes the islands?
You also have the river Styx that could be like a current that brings you into the underworld.
This could be the Hades legendary, by the way.
River STYX.
The Hades third legendary.
Sounds like a band that you like.
Yeah, that would be good. Like if it's Hades, yeah. Type in Greek, I guess, after it, or mythology, or whatever.
Honestly, it could even be just like actually that might not work. But it could be like the box legendary with 3 heads. They all split and they come together.
So it's like a river where like there are these like souls just floating through it.
Yeah.
And Charon, he is like he ferries people across the river Styx.
Oh, it's Styx
River. Imagine they can rework that into a current that pulls you into the island. Like pulls you underwater.
It pulls you underwater and then you pop. Honestly, Sutopolis just kind of is that.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting thing too. Is Santorini, which is Sutopolis, is thought to be like some people think that was Atlantis. Like people thought.
Well,
that
my
was
wife
Atlantis.
went there and she had a great time. It seems like a nice place. I know.
She
didn't bring you.
She went with her friend. They're both nurses and they get a lot of time off work.
Cool.
And I was like, well, I have a job to do.
But like,
dude, this is crazy.
See, we're able to
I have a
think
podcast to run.
Yeah.
We're able to think of like some kind of dark, like some lighter, more family-friendly
Pokemon-like
versions of these things.
Yeah.
Like,
the Pokemon version of
Charon is who ferries you through the river Styx. Maybe you have to catch a certain Pokemon that can travel through these currents so that there's like a Charon Pokemon or Charon stand, or even honestly it can be a character. It can be like a diving character that's like, I've built a submarine that will allow us to traverse this current, and that character is like
maybe
a stand-in for Charon.
Mega like a lantern evolution.
Oh Lord, yes,
right?
please.
Or like a Chinchou split Evo, and you have to ride it around and it glows up the abyss. I'd really like this idea of like illustrating that like most of the region are these islands, and you're like, well, that's kind of lame. It's beautiful, but it's like, okay, well, where's all the land? And then you go, no, you have to go underwater, and you find these like caves, right?
This is the end game though. End game area.
Yeah, this would be like.
Well, this would be the end game,
final battle.
But you could dive all throughout the region. That's how I'm. That's how I'm.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
And that's something else that was found in originally thought to be in X and Y. I think that was a feature. It was either X and Y or Sun and Moon. They originally
I think
planned
it was X and Y.
Sun and Moon, they planned for us to dive and go cave diving.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that could be something that gets kind of resurrected here. I think we have some closing thoughts, but first let's thank our sponsors. And our sponsors are all of you guys who show up every single week and watch and all of you that support the show.
Indeed. We've got so many. Thank you to all of y'all, no matter what tier. But of course, we want to give our special shout outs to our mythical tier members: Hayden Segal, Ryan, Amphosinus, Coronet Highlander, Chris, Tyler Low 15, Primal Gray, Case Still, Solely the Skeleton, NMT Arts, Northender, Travis Mashburn, Matt Hale, and the Pokey Kid 01. We want to give a special shout out to our Arceus tier supporters, Hayes and Red. And then we want to give a Gigantamax size shout out to our Game Freak Inc. level supporters, Young Smokey, Drogain, and Bramtastic.
Thank you guys so much for supporting us week and month after month. We got a lot of stuff planned for this year. We're really excited to still be doing this 2 years later. You guys are the best. You literally have supported the show, so we're really grateful. This is the part of the show where I say, actually, no, you know what? We should also just verbally give a nice shout out to our Box Legendary tier members who are also our Box Legendary tier members who have signed up to get access to the holiday gift that we're going to be sending you guys this month. The art, we had a couple more edits to do, so we've extended the window of time. If you want to sign up and get a holiday gift, sign up, become Box Legendary, or higher to get access to that. We also, I guess, so, and if you want to support the show, you get access to a ton of perks. Not only are you going to get access to our archive of bonus episodes or episodes of Secret Power, but there's actually a new one up today. We talk for about an hour about our favorite types of music. We talk about Skyrim, the video game, a bunch of other stuff. You'll also...
Actually, a Lumi episode.
Honestly, I'm glad we went down that rabbit hole. I'm glad we went down that rabbit hole.
But convincing Lumi what's good.
Yeah. The $5 tier on Patreon or on YouTube, you get access to the Discord. There's over 200 trainers in there, viewers, people. It's a very intimate space. It's private. It's a secret. Also through the Discord, you get access to the Battle League. You get access to the bonus podcast that I mentioned. Where we got a live call-in show brewing for later this month. We haven't even put out an official announcement, but that will be happening in a couple weeks, where you can be in the Discord and call in to just chat with us on a live recording of the podcast. You also get access to or first dibs when we do an AMA episode, and also you get 10% off merch. Actually, any tier you get access to 10% off merch. So there are a ton of perks. $5 a month, you not only get access to the show, but you get all this as well. And while I'm on a roll here, we do have holiday merch. We have a ton of merch, all sorts of merch. You can use that 10% off coupon if you want, if you are a member, and you can get some merch for your loved ones. There's a ton of stuff here. We got sweaters, mugs,
people you hate.
Or people you hate.
Yeah, this is the season of forgiveness and love.
I really like the beanies. The green chandelier beanie.
Reconnect with that long lost cousin you no longer talk to because of what happened Thanksgiving 2004.
Dude, don't bring it up. Don't bring it up.
And reconnect with them. Be like, here you go. Here's a sweater, and it's got Baltoy on it. And they'll be like, dude, I didn't know. Yeah, they'll be tearing up and everything. It'll be beautiful.
Wait, what if I thought the argument had to do with Baltoy. Wouldn't that be like? Wouldn't that be awkward?
Well, you know what?
And
it's
insensitive?
Great for that too. Honestly, maybe you haven't forgiven them. I mean, Thanksgiving 2004, that was rough.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to stick it to them and be like, "Here's a Baltoy sweater. What does that remind you of?"
Actually, I didn't even tell you guys, but I actually fixed up the URL. I fixed it. I did some back end stuff.
I didn't know it was broken. Good job.
We've reclaimed the shop.hiddenpowerpodcast.com URL. So
good job.
Super happy about that. The old link works as well.
Keeping us all together here.
Anyways, so this is all this is the merch. This is the merch. And everything actually just straight up is cheaper on the merch store. We lowered everything by about like $2. Just to make it a little bit more affordable. Anyways, so overall, Generation 10. When do you guys think? I mean, I really don't think we're going to be hearing about Gen 10 for a while. I expect, I think Ku knows some stuff.
I don't know, bro.
And I would love to hear some information. I mean, really, what's on the horizon is Legends ZA, but I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot here.
Yeah, I do.
There's
have
a lot
Legends
of potential
ZA.
for the game. I think it's gonna be kind of I think it's gonna be change. It's gonna change the franchise.
I mean, when we were talking, I was thinking about like how similar it is to Alola. It's just crazy. Like,
but I think it'll feel different.
Yeah, it's just like island nations.
Especially making it European versus like Alola or Hawaii.
Well,
rather.
we still don't
it's
know
almost
that.
got like more Asian vibes, like not even like American, but
sure.
I don't know
even
because
think. But Greek isn't. I mean, that's not even in European, right?
I just don't. I'm still,
Mediterranean. Yeah.
I know we're talking about Greece a lot, but the Philippines are like the closest to Japan. I'm almost like they have history with the Philippines to the point where
is
I'm
it
just
good
like,
history though?
No, not that great.
Okay, then probably not.
I mean, they had a lot of trade and stuff. That's the thing. So like, there's stuff there. So it's like,
is that a popular place? Is that a popular like vacation spot?
I'd say some
parts.
places, some parts.
Like, people go to Bali.
Maybe not Manila. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh,
Indonesia.
No, not Indonesia. I was just talking about like, the connections to Alola. Like, so having megas as well, having an island nation, it being the celebratory generations, let's call them. There's just a bunch going on that really makes me feel like, could we see a very similar rollout of Gen 10?
Yeah.
With
I mean, we really got to get through Legends of
I like how there was a section that said, "Is it safe?"
There might be.
Oh, okay. The island.
The island of the gods. Anyway, yeah, that's it. You're right about it. Legends EA is on the mind more than anything, but there with the Terra League, because that's what we're talking about, and things that Ku has gotten information about Gen 10 already, and he's been like, Gen 10's the main thing, and Legends EA is kind of like not so much. Which I think that's just a promotional thing that he's saying. I don't think that it means that Legends EA is not going to be important, because I do think.
Yeah, I think it was more to uplift Gen 10 than it was to bring down ZA.
Yeah, sometimes people take it a little too literally what he's saying. Like, oh,
what did he say?
Nothing. He was just saying like it's not. I don't know. You'd have to look up the tweet exactly. But see, like when you think about it, you're like, oh, Legends EA is not important, but that's not true. It is important. It's just they're already focusing on Gen 10 a lot,
sure.
Which makes sense actually.
Legends EA it's done.
It's almost done.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
If it's coming out in the next 6 months, it's got to be done.
Yeah.
Have we talked about this?
He said Ikaku is not a big deal, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's just like Ku talk, you know.
It could just be his opinion.
It doesn't mean that it's not a big deal. It just
we also have to consider the fact that he's not a native English speaker. You know what I mean?
Always.
That's not his first language.
No one ever considers that, but it's true.
Honestly, the way that reads is the same way Lumi goes, this game is not good.
Yeah.
It's just an opinion, right?
Yeah. That is also
It's like
true.
it's like if I say Kalos is not good. Okay, well, what is that
then
word?
That's an incorrect opinion.
Yeah, what is that word?
But whereas if I say "Let's go" sucks, that's an objective fact.
I just think that it means more so that
just trying to form the comments.
Yeah. I think it means the focus is on Gen 10, and that's why he has even more information about Gen 10 than he does about Legends ZA. So it's like, why is it like that?
I think big deal meant like how they're treating it. Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he? Because he doesn't seem to have much on ZA, or at least at the time he tweeted that he did not seem to have much on ZA,
which was like 2 months ago or something.
Right. It was like a comment of like, why the heck am I hearing about Gen 10 already? I'm getting information about Gen 10, but I'm not getting information about ZA. Guess it's not a big deal.
Yes, you nailed it. Because
that is something too, and I think we've kind of touched on this, but I will say one critique I do have of Ku, while I trust him and I do think he has inside information, I do think he gets a little trigger happy sometimes, and he'll sometimes see some things like this and kind of go ahead and take the leap that must mean this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was the Lumi translation, which was perfect. I think what you said earlier. That was the Lumi translation of a Ku tweet. Perfect. I say all of that because if he's getting leaks already about Gen 10, and the Terra Leak guy has the source code of Gen 10,
which is insane. The game is already there. It exists. Someone knows about it.
Playable because he talked about playing ZA, but didn't talk about playing Gen 10. So I don't think it's playable.
I don't think it's playable either. But all I'm saying is that leaks from it can happen at any point. Like when you're talking about, because you had just asked, like,
and we're gonna cover all of it right here on this podcast. So make sure you subscribe.
Maybe. I don't know. Yes,
we will.
If
they show a picture,
don't listen to Soul. I write the episodes.
It's just so like if it leaks like so early, I'm like in pain to actually want to look at it.
It depends.
If it's too early,
be selective with what we discuss from it.
If it's too early, if it's too much, we'll probably cover it. It'll probably just be on Patreon and for channel members. Truthfully,
true. Yeah.
So if you see something about it leaking, you grab that subscription.
Yeah.
The whole point is that it could leak. Some of it could leak.
It's so good
sooner than what we think.
Listen, I'm fine because if
this guy, the Terra Leaker, actually left. He's disappeared now because he was like, it's just not wise for me to stick around and all. Right, but here's the thing. Terra Leaker, Game Freak Out, I believe was your name. If you're out there and you're listening to this, here's the deal. I'm going to let you in on a secret. You're cooked regardless.
Damn.
So I say that to say, I do wonder if this.
Cooked.
I hope this doesn't happen. This would be very bad for Pokemon and for us as an audience if this happened. But like, if I know Nintendo's knocking at my door, like they've got me, they are about to have me. Do I just like in retaliation go on and just like mash enter, Nintendo's dragging me away? I'm like,
cut off my hand. Yeah. Hopefully they get a couple
another
tweets out.
10 years in prison for that one, so I don't know if I would.
Dude, we should have Dr. Lava back on.
I would love to know like that. Well, and it also will depend on where this person is, like country wise. But there's so many questions. Honestly, like I don't think people will want this, so I'm not like actually suggesting we do this. But I would love to do like a whole episode on how cooked is the Terra Leaker.
Poor guy.
Because at this point, he's done so much. Again, very happy he hasn't done it, but I don't understand how leaking Gen 10 could be that much worse for him. Like, I mean, you're doing pretty bad. You still leaked assets from these people.
Well, here's the thing is I really think that once Legend ZA is out, like it has been released, he'll drop the source code for Legend ZA just once it's out. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. Unless he's like
maybe not, because like he didn't drop Gen 9 stuff because he's like, there's still planned updates for it and I don't want to spoil that. So if there's things like that for ZA, he may not.
So maybe after then. Maybe like once Gen 10's on the horizon or something. Or out even.
That's my thing though, is like if Nintendo finds this guy and he knows he's about to get cooked, does he in retaliation drop everything? Because like am I wrong? He's cooked regardless, right? Like
I don't know. I don't know if Kaká got
he
away
leaked
with his stuff.
Actual assets. Like what you just saw, Dusty, what you just showed was an actual asset from the development of this game. These are actual assets from the development of this game. So it's not even like he just typed, there was actually a beta koala Pokemon for Gen 4.
It's not a bunch of stupid emojis.
He straight up
on
was like, here's a picture of it, you know?
We'll see what happens. We should do a full episode on... We haven't actually talked all together of the Gen 7 stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I actually have a video coming out tomorrow.
Spoiler!
All right. Yeah, I have nothing else to say, I don't think.
This is a preview of our next episode.
Yeah, possibly.
The Terra League Gen 7.
I don't know if I have anything else to say, but I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys too, but the viewers. I'm talking about the viewers right now. Appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys listening every single week. Check out, we've released a bunch of episodes over the last 2 weeks. We put out a new a Reggie, like the legendary Reggies. We put a whole video out. It's a deep dive into their origin. We kind of rank their designs, and we even talk about new.
Y'all rank designs without me?
A little bit, yeah. And we even talk about we showcase a bunch of designs for Reggies that have yet to be discovered, and what kind of designs we can see, for new Reggies for different types. So it's that's up on the channel right now. You can watch that, listen to that. And I'm playing Pokemon Snap. So if you want to watch or listen to me play Pokemon Snap for the first time
on this channel,
that is available. Episode 1 is live right now. All right, but I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, go check out the Patreon episode. See ya.
Peace.
Thank you.